Evening everyone, I hope you guys are all well. Sam here from Mind Body Medical. So I just wanted to do another video in this brief COVID series we're doing on Facebook. And tonight I want to talk about what is this, a famous Ayurvedic remedy that's been used. It's a real hidden gem. It's something that's been used for thousands of years within the Ayurvedic framework as an incredibly powerful natural medicine. For all things cold, flu, viral, etc., etc. And it's one that maybe a lot of you might not know about, but it's one that's really important to stock. And that's what I love about Ayurveda. Once you begin to understand more about it, once you learn more about it, it opens up this treasure chest of new medicines, new approaches that are time-tested and incredibly effective. And what I want to talk about tonight is a real kind of classic example of that. And when we were writing our cold, flu and COVID management series, this medicine was always going to be in it. There was no question mark about whether it was going to be in it or how we were going to use it. It was always going to be an integral part of our protocols for managing viral infections, whether it's seasonal flu, whether it's COVID. And remember, our cold, flu and COVID management series starts exclusively next week in the Ayurvedic Mentor. And doors are currently open to new members, but only until midnight tomorrow. So if you want full access to the full COVID management plans for prevention, for treatment, for managing post-COVID long-term syndrome, then check out the Ayurvedic Mentor. But the natural medicine that I want to talk about tonight is something called Cytopaladi or Cytopaladi Churna. And it's a herbal complex. It's not a singular herb, it's not an individual herb. It's a blend of 5 separate herbs into one homogenized powder. And I'll talk about how to use it in a minute. And we've been using it for decades in our clinic. Whenever we manage anyone with any kind of respiratory infection, whether it's a cold, whether it's sinusitis, whether it's bronchitis, whether it's the flu, and now for COVID, we always use Cytopaladi because I know it works. The evidence shows it's worked. It's been used for centuries. It's a time-tested treatment. So what is Cytopaladi and what's it used for? Well, it's loosely referred to as the Ayurvedic cold and flu remedy. Okay, and it's got loads of benefits. So it can be used for managing congestion. It's a very, very powerful expectorant. So it helps to thin out and clear mucus. And that's so important because when we've got an infection, making sure that we're thinning out and clearing the mucus really, really helps to slow down the proliferation of the viral infection. So it's really important that we clear out the mucus. And if we clear out the mucus, we make the symptoms better. If we think about most of the symptoms of respiratory infections, they get worse with mucus. So Cytopaladi is a brilliant expectorant. It clears mucus, it's a decongestion, it's also a bronchial dilator. So it increases oxygen exchange. It's brilliant for it's an antiviral, so it's brilliant for any viral infection, whether it's tonsillitis, whether it's the flu, whether it's a cold, whether it's a viral tonsillitis. The mechanisms fit for the COVID infection. It's antiviral, it's an immunostimulating, so it's got all of these properties, all of these benefits. It's very good for coughs. It's very good. It's a cough medicine in its own right. But the reason it's so important in the context of COVID, and the reason why when COVID first hit in late last year in January, February, looking at the symptom profiles, the Cytopaladi light bulb went off in my mind straight away. Because if you look at one of the cardinal symptoms of COVID during an acute infection, it's problems with oxygen exchange, it's breathlessness, it's wheezing, it's having to catch up our breath. It's a shortness of breath, a shortness of oxygen, and that is unpleasant and it's dangerous. And the reason Cytopaladi jumped out at me in that capacity is that it's been used for it's clinically indicated. It's indicated for breathlessness. It's indicated for wheezing, whether it's from an infection, whether it's from asthma, whether it's from an allergic reaction, it doesn't matter. It's a bronchial dilator, it's a lung tonic. So it helps to increase the exchange of oxygen in the lungs. And that's a key symptom to get on top of if we've got an acute COVID infection. And there's not many herbal medicines that kind of have that really powerful ability to do that, but Cytopolade is absolutely one of them. So because of its immunostimulating properties, because of its antiviral mechanisms, because of its decongesting and mucus clearing properties, but primarily because of the role it plays on lung function, oxygen exchange and breathlessness, I think it's an absolutely essential component of a COVID management protocol. So if you look at all of those benefits, each of those benefits is important, but if you combine them all together, you've got a real one-stop shop for all of the primary systems and primary symptoms that the body experiences during a COVID infection. So to me, it's a mandatory part of the treatment, which is why it's a key part of our protocol. So Cytopolade comes in a powder. The other benefit of Cytopolade is it tastes. It's a beautiful taste. I wish you could smell that now. It's got cinnamon in it as well, which gives it that beautiful sweetness. It tastes great. It's pleasant to take. It's incredibly effective. So it comes in a powder form. We buy it in bulk because we use it so much. You can also buy it if you what are these 250 gram pouches, which will last a long time, from a company in Lincolnshire called Essential Ayurveda. Okay, so if you go onto Essential Ayurveda and type in Cytopolade powder, it will come up, and in terms of gain for effort, I can't recommend enough that you do that, because it's something that you want in your kitchen, in your home apothecary, in your first aid box, to take the moment symptoms strike, okay, like we spoke about yesterday. So all you do is you take 1 teaspoon of the powder. There's a few ways of taking it. The best way of taking it, the classical way of taking it, is you get 1 teaspoon of the powder, you mix it into 1 teaspoon of raw honey. Why is that the best way of taking it? Because raw honey is in and of itself antiviral, immunostimulating, expectorating, decongestion. So you've got the benefits of the Cytopolade combined with the benefits of the raw honey to create this real lung tonic mixture. Okay, so you mix 1 teaspoon of powder, 1 teaspoon of raw honey to make a thick herbal paste. And it tastes so beautiful, you can have it straight off the spoon. You don't need to disguise it, you don't need to try and hide it in something, you just take it straight off the spoon. And you want to do that 4 to 5 times a day during an acute infection. So every 3 to 4 hours, you want to be taking 1 teaspoon of that mix. So 1 teaspoon of powder, 1 teaspoon of honey, all the way through the acute infection, and then for about 10 days after the symptoms subside. Because I know I'm banging the same drum here that I was earlier in the week, but the real priority for me with COVID is less the acute infection, it's more the long-term post-COVID syndrome, because this is a minefield, it's a ticking time bomb, which is why in our COVID management protocols, we put just as much emphasis on managing and treating and preventing long-term COVID syndrome as we actually have in terms of managing the acute infection, okay, because it's so important. So with all of these things, you don't stop taking them when the symptoms end. You take them for a good 10 or 14 days afterwards. So please check out Cytopolade. And then tomorrow, we've got the last video tomorrow. We're talking about, in terms of evidence, the absolute must-have herbal antiviral for the COVID mechanism, the SARS mechanism. We're talking about what it is, how it works, and how to use it. So stay tuned for that. And remember, all of this information comes from our full comprehensive COVID management protocols. If you want access to that, it's on the Ayurvedic Mentor starting next week. So if you want to access all of this, if you really want to empower yourself to take control of your health this winter, and rather than waiting for COVID to come to us, we take the fight to COVID by preparing our body, by making sure we've got everything we need in to dominate the situation. Please check out the cold, flu and COVID management protocols, which are starting in the Ayurvedic Mentor next week. But other than that, I hope you guys are all well. Doors are open to new members until tomorrow at midnight. We close the doors tomorrow at midnight. So if you want to sign up, you've got, pretty much 24 hours and a little bit more. Okay, so check that out. But other than that, stay well. I hope everyone's well. Thank you for signing in tonight. And I'll see you tomorrow for the last video on the most important antiviral herbal medicine for managing SARS viruses. Okay, take care everyone, and I'll see you soon.